Hey, what's up, YouTube world? It is your girl, the Venusian Bull, here once again to continue the series of the signs, the zodiac signs, and we are going in order per usual. So, this video is going to be about Gemini, and going to be very interesting to talk about these Gemini lies. You hear that from me. Anyway, so again, with the disclosure in reference to what I'm discussing the energy of Gemini, essentially the essence of Gemini. So if you happen to have your sun, moon, or your rising sign in Gemini, or any of the personal planets, Mercury, Venus, or Mars in Gemini, you may exhibit some of these traits, as well as if your north or south node is in Gemini, or if you happen to have planets in the third house, which is akin to Gemini. Whew, talking fast, just like a Gemini. Alrighty. So, without any further ado, let's get into it. This is about the duplicitous bullshitters of the zodiac. So, I know Geminis won't take it personally because you guys can take a joke. You guys are the funny, witty ones. I'll be like, ha ha, I got you. So, I think this will be a lot of fun for Geminis. Gemini, they say that they're the twins, but I personally feel like they may really be triplets or quadruplets, hell, quintuplets. It's just multiple personalities going up in that brain of the Gemini, because they do have to deal with the mind. So the quick little blurb that I always give in reference to Gemini energy, their motto or their slogan is "I think." All right, so they're ruled by Mercury. So that has to deal with communication, transportation, and that's in reference to short distance travel. Has to deal with their hands, siblings, writing, media, etc. Salesmen, selling things, all of that great stuff. So let's get into okay, so when it came to a song for Gemini, I have to admit, because Gemini is like kind of so all over the place and so many different personalities and so many different things, it was really difficult for me to pinpoint any specific song that really represented Gemini. So if you have any suggestions for a song that really represents Gemini energy, please put it in the comments, because I had a very, very difficult time, because I was like, well, this song really doesn't, I mean, like one line, like I guess. So the only thing I really came up with was Forever Young by Jay-Z. Forever young, I wanna be forever young. Particularly because the Gemini mind is youthful, Gemini energy and spirit is very youthful. Like they're genuinely like forever young. You meet a Gemini that's 60 and it's like you talking to somebody that's 30, because they just can still, mesh in with the younger generation. So I thought that was like kind of a clever song, but it's just not as fun as what I wanted to do, like the other signs. So again, all of these personalities, like I can't pinpoint one particular song for this sign, or even like three. So again, if you have any good ones, put those in the comments. So let's get into Gemini right now. So one of the things to remember about Gemini is they have no filter, especially when they comes to their words. So while their words can be witty and fun and playful, they can also sting you as well. They can hurt as well. And they talk with their hands a lot, as I'm doing. Mercury does rule the hands, so yeah, they're going to be talking with their hands a lot. They're the sign of communication, and that's communication in all facets. Communication, communication, speaking, typing, texting, any type of emailing, like all of that is Gemini. Gemini is also known as the sign of the rapper. And when I get into the celebrities of Gemini, you will see why that have that Gemini energy. Because, I mean, the wit and the being the wordsmiths is just so Gemini. Like I just mentioned wordsmith. They so clever with their words. It's like ridiculous. Like they can come up with analogies and shit that rhyme that you don't even know where that shit came from. It's like, what? So Gemini has that gift, the gift of gab, for real. So they can also be two-faced, and I think most Geminis know this about themselves. They know that they have multiple personalities. I really think that we need to change their symbol from the twins to like quintuplets and beyond or something like that. Multiple personalities, like I said, they might be prone to like multiple personality disorders, or like being bipolar or something like that. Specifically, any disorder that has to do with personalities, because Mercury, Gemini is ruled by Mercury, has to deal with the mind, so that's mental. So yeah, you have to think about that. Put two and two together right there. Yes. But they are also very flexible in the mind and the body. So in terms of flexibility with the body, they just might be able to be, they might be like contortionists, or they may be able to do splits and high kicks and, all kinds of crazy stuff like that. Very agile. Very versatile. They're immutable signs, so they can switch from this to this. They can adapt to any surroundings, really. Like Gemini can kind of fit in anywhere and kind of make friends with anybody. Like they have that gift, you know what I'm saying? So that's actually a really, really, really cool trait to have. They love to talk, but they also love to talk because they love to hear themselves talk. So a Gemini just loves conversation. Like I said, they're the sign of communication. So you can't really be like, answering questions for Gemini in like yes or no responses. That's not really going to appeal to Gemini's stimuli. You know what I'm saying? Like open-ended questions, open-ended answers. We need to keep the conversation going, because a Gemini just needs to continue to learn and to know and to get information. They're all about getting information, and giving information and receiving information. They know a little bit about everything, but not a lot about one thing. And that's a very important thing about Gemini, because they can like literally have a conversation with anybody because they have knowledge, at least surface level, of many, many, many different topics. But typically they're not like the expert in those topics. You know what I'm saying? You see that as a good thing or a bad thing, but to be able to kind of like merge in with different crowds and different people and things like that, that's a great trait for a Gemini. Like I said before, can have a conversation with pretty much anyone about anything. They have a youthful spirit, like I mentioned, the Forever Young song, very lively. Also very lighthearted. They're not like, they don't have a heavy energy. They're lighthearted. They can kind of come off as a little bit superficial even, but they're definitely the gossipers. So Gemini energy, that's not the people that tell your business to. Just so you know, if you want something to stay a secret, don't tell Gemini. Remember, they love to talk. They love to spread information, whether true or false. They love to spread rumors. I would say that they are the gossipers of the zodiac. Gemini and Virgo, because they're both ruled by Mercury, and that has to deal with communication. So, they can't really keep it in the can. So they have to talk. They have to divulge information. So that could also mean, rumors and gossiping and things of that nature. They're great at speaking, like public speaking, because they just, like I said before, they have the gift of gab. They're wordsmiths. They're like real clever with the way that they speak. It's not like boring and mundane. It's always like, they're kind of always throw you for a loop and be like, oh, snap, I didn't see that coming. The versatility and being agile comes in handy when it comes to like speaking and public speaking and being in the media. Doing things like YouTube, for instance. Did I mention I have a stellium in Gemini? Yes, I do. So, being in the media, whether it's like, because Gemini more or less likes to give, their opinions and like information, they'd be more apt to do like a talk show, like not something where they have to have like a neutral personality, but something where they can give you their opinion, writing a blog or something like that, doing a podcast or something along those lines. Gemini, they can sell ice to an Eskimo. They're just great salespeople. Like, great. Like, if you feel like you've ever kind of been duped by a salesperson, they probably had some type of Gemini energy, because they talk a really, really good game. Remember when I mentioned about the title, the Duplicitous Bullshitters? Yeah, I mean, they can kind of be like big bullshitters a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But extremely persuasive. The essence of them are great salesmen. Like I said, can sell ice to an Eskimo. So what they're selling, a lot of times people are buying. They are the I will try anything once sign. So I call them like trisexual. Like they'll try anything. Like I'm a, because like I said before, Gemini energy is versatile. It's flexible. Like that's one of the reasons why Geminis are not really commitment. They're not really the commitment type of sign. They're not really that's not really like their MO, because they're so flexible and so versatile, and they want to try so many different things that, they're prone to be cheaters and prone to infidelity. But you kind of just have to understand the Gemini energy. And if get caught up with the Gemini, just know that they like variety. That's all I gotta say about that. They can also be like androgynous. So if you don't know what androgynous means, think Prince. You know what I'm saying? So that's that versatility, that masculine, that feminine kind of energy meshed into one, the different personalities and stuff like that. But it's just like the ability to exude the masculine and the feminine kind of at the same time. There's a lot of models that kind of exhibit this androgynous type of thing. If you used to watch America's Next Top Model, because I know I did, I used to hear that word thrown around a lot when it came to modeling. So that androgynous type of look is very appealing in the modeling world. They're intellectuals, all about the mind. They can definitely have an intellectual conversation with you. It could maybe be a little bit surface level, not quite the same as Sagittarius, which is their opposite sign, which is about the higher mind. Gemini is more about the lower mind and things like that, but they are intellectual beings and intellectual energy. Like I mentioned earlier, very witty, funny, great sense of humor, make a great comedian as well, just because they're so funny. Clever, like I said before, and a prankster, I would say. They can definitely be like, they might be the pranksters of the zodiac. I would say definitely the one to do the good pranks. They love change. Absolutely love it. Like they thrive off of change. They need to change everything about everything. Like they may have, like female Geminis, they may have a different nail color on each nail because they need variety even in their nail color. They may change their hair every week. Men may change their women every week. Like they just love change. They may not, they're not really stable when it comes to employment. Like any type of job they do, it has to be versatile or allow them to utilize their versatility in some way. And if that's not happening, they'll get very bored and move on to the next. Like I mentioned earlier, they lack the ability to commit, especially in romantic relationships, but also, like I just said, when it comes to employment and things like that, career, they kind of lack commitment because they're kind of all over the place because they're so versatile. It's like, I want to do this and I want to do that and I want to do this and I want to do that, and there's only 24 hours a day. So Geminis kind of forget that. They're very alert, I would say. And they're also very street smarts. Like Gemini is the sign of the streets. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to like the hood, like that's Gemini's like playground. You know what I'm saying? Because Gemini, I would say Gemini represents, close friends and neighbors in your immediate surroundings. And so does the third house. So in essence, like it represents the hood, like the neighborhood. It represents the hood. You know what I'm saying? El barrio. So, yeah, Geminis can be very, street smart and very like street savvy. And, that enables them to kind of like get away with stuff and be able to maneuver out of, problems and things of that nature because they're so street savvy and they got that street smarts about them. They usually have both though. They usually have the book smarts and the street smarts, but they definitely have the street smarts. They about that street life. That's what I really wanted to point out about that. Very logical. All about rationale. They can rationalize anything. Everything is about using the mind. Everything is about logic. So if it's not logical, then like, why do it if it doesn't make sense? You know what I'm saying? So very Gemini. Very, very inquisitive. They will ask a lot of questions. And they will question a lot of things. Like Gemini, and I would say maybe Aquarius is like this too, but in a different level because they like alien and outer space and stuff like that. But Gemini, we'll get to them later. Gemini will sit there and argue with you about the sky not being blue. They will say that it is sky blue, or it is royal blue, or it is navy blue, but today it's not really blue at all because it's overcast. So the sky is never really blue. Like argumentative to the hill, like for real. Um, but yes, they will question all of that stuff. Um, they always want to know, like, no particular reason why. They just kind of want to know. Like I said before, they're the sign of information, and they are about gathering information and divulging that information for whatever reason. Usually, it's not for any particular reason or for any important reason. Like, they just want to know. That's why they be all up in your business, because they want to know your business. So, don't tell a Gemini your business. Keep the conversation surface level, keep them cute, keep it light, keep it fun. Because a Gemini, they just can't help themselves but to divulge this information to somebody. Like I mentioned already, argumentative. And that's just because it's like kind of fun for a Gemini to argue and like be argumentative a little bit, because they like to keep the conversation going. They like to keep the banter going. They like to know, I said this. What's this person going to say next, or whatever the case may be. So that's kind of the thing behind a Gemini being argumentative. It's not really about being malicious per se. It's just about like they enjoy arguing. Like it's a favorite pastime of a Gemini. Mm-hmm. And a Libra, I would say that. The air signs in general, it's a thing, but definitely Gemini. Yeah, it's just that argumentative thing is like out of this world. Like I said before, it deals with the conscious mind, because it's ruled by Mercury. Geminis can come off as insensitive, and that has a lot to do with them being a very mental, a very cerebral sign. They're not about emotions and feelings. So if you are a water sign, people, and even if you are an earth sign, some of the stuff that Gemini says, remember, Geminis can rationalize anything, may hurt your feelings. So, that's why I'm saying try to keep the communication with Gemini energy kind of light, because, you know, they're not afraid to tell you like the real and to be like honest with you and real, and they will logically rationalize it even if it's bullshit. Like I said before, like just because they are able to rationalize things doesn't mean that it's right. They just in their mind have decided that this makes sense in my mind, so it's right for me to tell you this. So may hurt your feelings if you don't like have a thicker skin. Um, like I said before, with the other signs, every sign rules a body part. So with Gemini, rules the hands, the nerves, shoulders, arms, respiratory system, fingers, and lungs. So they rule a lot of different body parts, usually the body parts that come in twos. So that's not surprising. So also these body parts are susceptible to injuries and illness. And when you think about the nerves, it's just a lot of nervous energy, like for Geminis, because they're ruled by Mercury. So you may see them being nervous a lot. Same with Virgo. It's just a kind of a nervous energy. They can be mischievous. Like I said before, they can kind of get away with stuff. They kind of have two of their multiple personalities. I would definitely say has to be like angel and devil and stuff like that. Like, so a Gemini being mischievous kind of reminds me of like a sinister like smile or something like that, like that type of thing. So they can have their devilish moments. Don't get it twisted. They're not all lighthearted like that. Some Gemini energy in general, and I'm not saying this for everybody who's a Gemini. Remember, you have to see where your Gemini energy lies and see what the aspects it's making. But sometimes they can lack a moral compass, because you have to understand Gemini is the opposite sign of Sagittarius, and Sagittarius rules morality. So Gemini, a lot of times that energy, like they don't really have any morals because they can rationalize everything, like why they don't have morals. Like, I don't do this or whatever. Like, I don't care that I'm a stripper or whatever. I need to make my money. I got a pretty face and a cute waist. So I'm gonna go work hard for this money. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of the angle that comes with Gemini lacking a moral compass. Like I said before, they're completely mental, not emotional, so they can really hurt some people's feelings, especially the water signs. Very agile, as I mentioned. Some of this stuff I've already mentioned, but I do want to point out, because I like to kind of mention a little bit of the dark side of each sign. So with Gemini being one of the mutable signs, mutable signs are prone to extreme violence because they're quick to change. They're quick to switch up. Like, so you could really be like having a conversation with a Gemini in their face, and then the next second they can want to punch you in your face. You know what I'm saying? So don't get it twisted with this, hey, how you doing, lighthearted Gemini night type stuff. Like, they do have a dark side, and they're quick to switch up because they got all of these personalities built up in there. So you never know which Gemini you're gonna get that day. So keep that in mind. I looked up somewhere, read somewhere that most of the serial killers, like a lot of the most infamous serial killers, so to speak, are mutable signs. And the mutable signs are Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. And you might not necessarily think that off the bat, but you have to remember, and again, you know, they have other things in their chart and other aspects that contribute to being a serial killer. But just remember that mutable signs are prone to extreme violence. So just want to put that out there. Like I mentioned earlier, they deal with the media. So all things media, all things communication, cell phones, laptops, computers, all of that jazz. Just casually speaking with people, that has to deal with Gemini. And they crave mental and intellectual stimulation. Like, that is what gets them off. Like, that is what turns them on. So if you are trying to, like, as far as relationship wise and dating, if you're trying to impress a Gemini person, then impress them with your words, impress them with your intellect. They're not so much keen on, like, you just being beautiful. Like, what else can you offer as far as the mind is concerned? And speaking about dating and relationships, and in terms of sex, they would potentially be the talkers during sex, because, like I said before, Gemini loves to talk. They like to talk all the time. And they also always have stuff on their minds. So they want to speak that. It's not it's a very restless mind that the Geminis have. So, that was what I had about Gemini, and I did want to point out some celebrities. As I mentioned before, they are the sign of the rapper. So I did mention Prince because he is a Gemini and definitely exudes Gemini-like traits. But all of these people I have on here for the most part are rappers. So Tupac, Biggie, Remy Ma, Lauryn Hill, Lisa Left Eye Lopez, Kanye West, and that man that is y'all's president that will hopefully be impeached soon. He's a Gemini as well. So, I don't hold that against y'all, Gemini. I don't hold that against y'all that y'all got 45 and Kanye West. I don't hold that against y'all, but y'all got some good people up in the mix too. And I wanted to mention Kendrick Lamar, I believe, is also a Gemini. Allen Iverson is a Gemini. So a lot of great people, Gemini, a lot of great talents. Something that you may find similar with all of these, they are a little bit cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So some of them a little bit crazy. But that's okay. You know what I'm saying? Because they are interesting. With their words, they're sick with their words. You know what I'm saying? Wordsmiths. Just think about Tupac and stuff like that. Think about Remy Ma. Think about Biggie. Left Eye. Remember what I said about prone to extreme violence? You see how she burned down Andre Rison's house? And she used them hands. So, Lisa Left Eye Lopez, she was not afraid of anything like that. So just remember that when I mention prone to extreme violence. And so I think that is about it. And when it comes to Gemini, let me make sure I didn't forget anything important. If you figure out any songs that really represent Gemini, like I said, Gemini is so many different things. They're all over the place. They're chaotic, but they're fun, they're lighthearted, they're good for like surface level friendships. Don't get too deep with them. They don't even like stuff that's that deep. They like getting all this information, but they're not like the researchers and things of that nature. But I will say about Gemini energy, they're usually very smart. They're usually very smart in school. They may not always apply themselves, but they're very smart in schools. But they also may have smart mouths. You know that term smart aleck, smart ass? that's for Gemini, because they slick with the mouth. They slick with the mouth. Another thing about Gemini children I do want to mention is that a lot of times Gemini children will be quicker to speak than other children, because they're just itching to talk. They're just itching um to speak and to, get words out and things like that. They could also actually make pretty good teachers, because they're ruled by Mercury and they're fun. They're good with kids, and and stuff like that. So that's something to remember about Gemini energy. And until next time, in the next video, I will be talking about Cancer. So get ready for that. Get y'all tissues out, y'all. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.